the kind of girl that needs the wind, riding with that fire in my eyes, flying straight through the open wide. 'Cause baby, I'm a wild horse, wild horse. Don't try to tame me, baby. I'm a wild horse, wild horse. Ain't gonna break me.
Hey guys, this is my first video ever, so I hope you'll go a little bit easy on me. I am a certified D3 traditional pony clubber, and I'm from Maine, and I'm posting this video in order to hopefully help you get through what is your D1 rating, and I hope you guys have a great time, and I hope that my video is really helpful. So we're going to start going over some aspects of what is involved in a D1 rating and what you guys should be prepared for, and the first thing on our list is what to wear to your D1 rating. So if you were like me, I took my D1 rating and my D2 rating at the same time. And when you're taking your D ratings, they're pretty, they're not very picky about what you wear. So for example, for my D1 and my D2, I just wear my Pony Club shirt, not this one, but everybody has one, the one with the collar, and you wear your Pony Club pin, and you obviously are wearing your armband, all right? And then usually it's very nice if you can wear tan breeches with a belt. If you have belt loops, don't forget, okay? If you don't have tan breeches, but you have another pair of breeches that are really nice, it's usually okay. That might be something you want to ask your club, because usually you try and look nice for whoever is giving you your rating, and you want to appear very professional, right? Even though it's not a huge deal, but you want to make them seem very appreciative, and you want to show them your best side almost. It's kind of a courtesy. Anyway, so tan breeches are what you would usually wear to a rating. And then you have your polo shirt. If you have tall boots, you can definitely wear them. If you don't, paddock boots and half chaps are completely fine. Brown or black, whatever you have, will totally work. Okay, and don't stress about the dress as long as you try your best and you're mostly neat and you have what is required to be safe. Like I said, your armband and your Pony Club pin, and obviously wearing a helmet while you're doing your rating, okay? They're not really gonna be bothered as long as you look clean, nice, and professional. Those are the three things, all right? And don't forget about safety. All right, so the next topic on our list is grooming. So as a D1, or possibly taking your D2 at the same time, like I said, that's just my personal experience, you're going to be judged on your grooming, okay? This doesn't mean that your horse has to be perfectly clean. It doesn't mean that you have to give your horse a bath the day before, okay? But when you go to your rating and you show up, you should not have a horse that is covered in dirt and does not have his hooves picked out or has shavings in his tail. That is not okay. It does not look nice, and your instructor will not like it, okay? So you need to remember to always curry your horse all over, right? And then you take a hard brush or a soft brush or a finishing brush, whichever you would like to call it, and you go down and you get all the dust off, okay? And always pick out their hooves, okay? If you don't pick out the hooves one day and then you get on and your horse has a rock in his foot and then your horse comes up lame, it's not going to be very nice, okay? And the instructor will know. Trust me, okay? Always pick out their hooves, all right? And always brush their mane and tail, all right? Usually Pony Club doesn't like you to braid their mane and tail because they like the horse to look natural and they like to be able to judge you on what your grooming job has been. So if you can, just leave their mane and tails not braided. I know you might want to, but just leave it. That's just the way they prefer it, okay? Grooming, like I said, just don't overthink it, okay? Okay, so our next topic is going to be basically the order in which your rating will happen and when stuff is gonna go down, you could say, and also how to be correctly tacked and have your saddle on and all that. You know, I should know this by now anyway. So when you're taking your rating, usually the instructor or whoever's getting your rating, it's usually someone in your pony club that you know. It might be your DC, or it might be like a really high level pony clubber in your club, and usually you know them for your D1. Anyway, so they'll get there and you'll bring your horse in, or you'll have them tied in their stall or in the cross ties or whatever, okay? And you will demonstrate that you know how to brush your horse, and you'll demonstrate that you know how to tack them up and put the bridle on. Usually before you do bridle and go down to your arena, they will ask you most of the questions, or they'll ask you some of the questions. It depends on how they want to do it. Sometimes they'll ask the horse management questions before you ride. Sometimes they'll do it while you're riding, or you'll ride and then they'll do it while you're still on the horse after your ride is done. It really all depends on who you've got doing your rating. Okay. I wouldn't really worry too much about it. Just kind of go with the flow. It's pretty relaxed rating, D1. So, yeah. So when you get down to the arena, make sure that you tighten your girth and that your bridle is fitted correctly to your horse, all right? As a D1, you don't really need to worry about that, like your bridle and your saddle fitting so much, but you should definitely make sure that your stirrups are run up before you leave the barn, and that you tighten your girth before you get on, okay? Those are the two things that you guys should remember. Okay, so now we're going to start getting into the actual aspects of what you'll be doing while you're riding and the questions that you'll be answering about your horse management. So one of the things you will be doing during your riding phase is learning how to pick up your reins, okay? So the easiest and safest way to pick up your reins, especially in an emergency situation, is to simply, if your reins are just resting on your horse's neck, like over their withers, right? If you just grab the reins by the buckles and pull them up kind of by your chest and your shoulder height, and then your other hand comes over and you just grab both of the reins in your fist, all right? And then this hand lets go of the buckle, and then you grab both reins in either hand, all right? And now you have your reins again, okay? All right. Hey guys, so our next topic is your position on your horse and how to stay balanced. And we're also going to discuss something called the plumb line, which you may or may not have heard of already. Some instructors talk about it and some don't, okay? So when you're on your horse, you're going to have your heels down. I know you can't see my heels, okay? It's all right. You're going to have your heels down. You're going to have your back straight, all right? And your shoulder, your hip, and your heel. You can't see mine. It all lines up, okay? And that's how you know that you are riding in the correct position, okay? So when you're on your horse at the walk and at the halt, your body should look like this, okay? Your elbows should be bent at a 90-degree angle. It can be a little bit more depending on the size of your horse, all right? Your reins, you shouldn't have really loopy reins, but you shouldn't have really short reins either. Again, it depends on the horse and what your instructor says, okay? But obviously, you're going to have your heels down. I cannot emphasize this enough. Heels down, okay? That is one thing that instructors are definitely looking for. Your heels don't have to be down the entire time, but you definitely want to make sure that you're making an effort for them to see that you're trying to do it, okay? And again, make sure that you're not like going forward with your horse when they start moving forward, okay? You kind of want to sit back on them, right? Even if they're taking off on you, you sit right back, okay? And you show your rider that you are in control. Okay, so we are going to talk about control at the trot. So there are several ways to get your pony to slow down while you're trotting. Obviously, one of them is to pull on your reins, because it's connected to a bit which is in your pony's mouth, right? And usually they listen to pulling on their bridle, okay? Also, when you pull on your reins, make sure you're also sitting back, okay? Eventually, over time, this will make like downward transitions much easier for you and your pony, okay? If you do it every time, always pull back and sit back, okay? Remember, always go backwards together. Another way to slow your horse or pony down is to slow your posting trot. So this means that as you rise up and down, right, your body goes up and down, you just kind of do it slower than their leg is actually rising and falling. Okay, another thing you can do is you can always sit the trot, and usually that will also slow your pony down, where you could like sit the trot for like 5 strides and you can rise the trot for 10 strides or something, and sometimes a combination helps to get your pony listening to you again. Okay, so we're going to talk about the aids to get your horse to move forward or to go forward more. So going from the halt to the walk or the walk to the trot, usually bumping your legs, right? You can pretend they're tennis balls, going at a steady rhythm on your horse's sides, right? Usually that will get your horse moving. If that doesn't, then you can add a cluck to it. All right, and if you've tried that 3 or 4 times and it still doesn't work, that's when you use your whip or your crop. If your pony doesn't need a crop or a whip, or your instructor doesn't want you to have one, then you can give them a giant boot with your legs, okay? and usually that'll send them forward. So we are going to talk about jumping position. As D1s or possibly D2, you don't have to know actually how to jump. You only have to be able to trot in jumping position over some poles or maybe a grid of poles, okay? So jumping position is not that much different from just sitting, okay, except your body is out of the saddle, okay? So your hips have risen out of the saddle and obviously your heels are down. Basically, your heels are the only thing that is keeping your body up. All of your weight should be in your heels. They should be completely down, okay? They say that your belly button should rest over the pommel of the saddle, which is the front of the saddle, or your horse's withers. Your shoulders usually depends on what size horse you are, what size horse you're riding, and how big of a person you are. So, like for example, when I ride a pony, right? I'm 5'3" and my pony might be like 14 hands, right? So I'm obviously gonna have my shoulders back, but my body's still gonna be forward, okay? If you're riding a bigger horse, usually I would be leaning more like this far forward, okay? Whereas my pony would be more like this, okay? I'm still slightly forward and my body's definitely out of the saddle, but my shoulders are back, and that's what's keeping my balance and keeping the horse up. So another thing that you have to know for your D2 or D1 rating is why we clean tack and what happens when you don't clean your tack. So we clean tack obviously to keep it looking nice and polished, and because we want to show that we are professional and we keep our horse and our equipment clean, okay? But also when you're cleaning tack, you're looking at it very closely, right? So when you look at the tack closely, you're definitely more likely to notice rips or tears that are starting to form in the tack, okay? And when you are cleaning the tack, obviously you're oiling it and stuff, so it makes the leather stronger and much less likely to break, okay? And I think you only have to know 2 reasons, and I just gave you 3. So the next thing we're going to talk about are the rules of group riding. So when you're riding in a group, I typically ride with my friends and other people at my barn, right? So the people that have their horses right shoulder against the wall, those are the people that have the right of way, okay? So if you're at a warm-up ring at a rally or something, or if you're just in your arena and you want to go the other way, that's fine. It's totally fine to go opposite directions. Just make sure that you give them the right of way, because if they don't call that they have the rail, they still have it. So if you are the brown horse, right, and you're trotting around, right, the circle, see how the horses, their right shoulder, which is the shoulder, is against the rail, right? That means that they have the right of way. So remember, right shoulder has the right of way, okay? So say you want to enter the arena and you want to go around, right? You can always pass this horse on the inside. Remember, we never pass on the outside, all right? So if you want to switch directions, all right, because their right shoulder is against the wall and your left shoulder is against the rail, right? You always pass left shoulder to left shoulder, okay? So that means that you would have to pass on the inside. Even if you're cantering or you want to go over a jump or something, you are the one that has to move to the inside of the arena to pass them, okay? Because they will always have the right of way because of the direction that they are going, all right? So that is how you would pass, okay? So even if the brown horse does not call that they're on the rail and they want the rail, you still have to give it to them, okay? So if this brown horse is walking and you come cantering around, right, and you're expecting them to move over, they're not, okay? And you're going to run right into them. Okay. So a vet would come and visit your horse to give yearly immunizations. They get shots and they get an examination just like you do. You go to your doctor every year, okay? So that's why. Obviously, if your horse is sick, you're going to call your vet. If they're obviously injured or they're really lame or they have a giant cut, you're going to call your vet, okay? Some safety equipment while you're riding. So you are going to wear your armband and your PonyClub pin. You're going to be wearing your helmet, obviously, and it should be safely fitted to your head. Like if you go like this with your helmet on and it's wobbling, it does not fit your head, okay? It's too big. At the same time, it should not be too small, so you shouldn't feel like you're being like encased and you shouldn't have a headache after you're done riding. Also, you want to make sure that if you are jumping or you're doing a lot of cross country, most people like to wear jumping vests. They can get quite expensive, but usually your barn can lend you one, or you can find one that is used. Unlike a helmet, you can buy them used. Never buy a used helmet, okay? Because it can come damaged and you just never know. But you can always buy a used jumping vest, and you can get them quite cheap, usually like 40-50 bucks, depending on what size you are and what area you're in. So you also need to know 10 parts of the saddle or bridle. So I'll just talk to you guys about a couple of these. So the front of the saddle, right above where you sit, is called the pommel, okay? And then there are these two lines, or you could almost call them ridges, where on top of your saddle, and where they come together, that is where the twist is. Obviously, where you sit, that part of the saddle is called the seat, because you sit in it. The back of the saddle is called the cantle. There is a head nail, which is kind of on the skirt, okay? The skirt of the saddle, when you lift up the skirt, that's where your stirrup leather attaches, okay, on the stirrup bar. The D-ring, you guys don't really use those, probably they're kind of for martingales and that kind of stuff, but it's an easy thing to remember. The knee pad, so that's where your knee rests on the saddle. And then you have the saddle flap, so you lift up the saddle flap every time you go to tighten or loosen your girth. And then you have your keeper, which is where you put your extra stirrup leather. And here are some parts of the bridle. I only gave you guys a couple, but these are really easy ones. So the brown band, that just goes like right under your horse's ear. It kind of would go across your forehead if you were wearing it. The nose band, obviously that goes around your horse's nose and helps keep your bridle on. The bit goes in your horse's mouth, helps you keep control of your horse. And then you have the reins, which you use for steering, and you hold on to them. So you also have to know 10 parts of the horse to pass your D1 rating, and D2 rating, I believe it's either 15 or 20. So these are just some easier parts of the horse. So the forelock, that's the hair that comes out between your horse's ears. Usually you might braid it. And then you've got your mane and your tail. You guys should already know that. The withers, so that's kind of the bony part, right? Like if you're sitting on your horse, it's like right in front of your saddle. And then you have the back of your horse. So obviously their back on the top. Okay, we have a back also. Hindquarters, that's kind of just the general horse's butt. And then you have their forearm. So if you were to look at your arm, the area between your elbow and your wrist, that is your forearm on a human. The horse's forearm is kind of similar. The cannon bone, so that's the bone in the front of the horse's leg. And then you have the barrel of the horse, which is kind of, it's easier to think of a barrel as being round, right? So the barrel of your horse is like the rounded sides. So the barrel is like the side stomach of your horse almost. And then obviously you have the belly of your horse, which is the underside of your horse. You also need to know what color your horse is and what breed your horse is. Also, whether or not your horse wears shoes, okay? And those are things that you should already have like taken note of, or maybe looked up in a horse encyclopedia or something. I wish you guys good luck on your D1 or your D2 rating, and I hope that this video was very helpful.
If you want candy on your arm, if you want a pretty lucky charm, if you want a trophy on your shelf, you better find somebody else. If you want a girl that don't speak a mind, all smiles, oh yes, all of the time. I ain't made for these four walls, so little